The wounds from Queensland's summer of disasters may not be so obvious anymore, but they're far from healed. That's the message organisers of this year's Mental Health Week are trying to get across with their slogan, "You lent a hand, now lend an ear." It's an attempt to tap into that extraordinary community spirit that was on show after Cyclone Yasi and the series of floods. Mental health professionals say the period 8 to 12 months after a traumatic event can be a difficult time for those whose lives have been drastically and permanently changed. Peter McCutcheon reports.
You be fast! You be fast!
It's playtime in Queensland's warm spring drizzle. But at the start of this year, the drizzle was a torrent, and the front yard of this Ipswich property west of Brisbane was underwater.
So you lost everything?
Pretty much. The hardest room hit was my son's room, Samuel's, but you gotta soldier on.
NATASHA SPEECHLEY-WILLIAMS is a single mum who has been doing it tough. She's had to postpone her nursing studies, trying to get her life back on track.
Once you've been helped, you're forgotten about. Once they think you're back on your feet, you're forgotten about.
We call the Transformers, the awesome Transformers. This is what we see.
Well, not completely forgotten. At the launch of Queensland's Mental Health Week, organisers were warning of the lingering effects of this year's traumatic floods and cyclones.
It is a year in which many Queenslanders have experienced grief and trauma and difficulty in a way they never have before.
After disaster struck, the community came together in unprecedented numbers. For a struggling single parent, it was a godsend.
We had about 30 people here packing all the stuff up into bags that had to be thrown out, and getting all the furniture and stuff outside, and that was pretty awesome, having just an army of people just to come over and...
Just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of help from a lot of people. Salvation Army have helped us a lot, even with beds and a fridge and things like that. We've had help from St Vincent de Paul. They've helped quite a bit.
DAMIAN, Maine, also lost nearly everything in the deluge.
So how high did the floodwaters come up?
Well, all this was totally under. I had a bit of a nervous breakdown at one stage when I knew I couldn't do my business anymore, and I'm thinking, where am I going to go? What am I going to do?
Right, you've still got a few loose wires about.
Yeah, they're all hanging down everywhere at the moment.
Despite early help, DAMIAN, Maine hasn't been able to resurrect his remedial massage and health business, which he had set up under his house. It's obviously been a terrible year for you, but how do you rate the stress that you first felt when the flood hit compared to what you're going through now?
I still think there's still a lot of stress and stuff around because, I still don't have my business. That's what's really killing me more than anything, is I'm not working. So I'm, looking at four walls every day and thinking, well, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I get my business back on track?
NATASHA SPEECHLEY-WILLIAMS is also fighting other demons.
Now, you weren't too well before the event, were you?
No, I have bipolar, so, yeah.
Now, NATASHA is getting help for her condition, and those people who have more serious mental health problems can come to centres like this one, the Jacaranda Clubhouse in Ipswich.
Demand for your services must have gone up after the floods.
It was huge. We were trying to take new referrals throughout the outreach process, but we weren't able to meet the capacity of need in the community.
In fact, demand was overwhelming. The mental health centre itself was flood damaged, forcing it to close its books and then cope with a surge in demand when the clubhouse reopened in June.
So are you still feeling the effects of that influx?
Oh, definitely. We still have the same staffing numbers with increased membership throughout the work order day. The first 6 months, people were in this survival mode, so you run on a different kind of energy. As soon as things came back to normal, supposedly normality, a lot of people then became unwell.
over the course of time, these adversities can sometimes get the better of people and kind of result in experiences like pessimism, helplessness or depression.
Many Victorians are only too aware of the mental health effects of natural disasters. The Australian Centre for Post-Traumatic Mental Health advised Victorian authorities on how to approach the emotional aftermath of the fires. And the Centre's director, Dr. David Forbes, is now training health professionals for the Queensland recovery.
For a lot of people at this stage, we would expect that they're starting to get their lives back on track, but there will be those, particularly those who are particularly affected, who, if they are continuing to meet adversity after adversity, are likely to potentially require some significant kind of mental health support.
The physical damage from the Queensland summer disasters is easy to see and relatively easy to fix. The challenge for the community is to repair the damage that's not so apparent.
Still try to get over, like, looking at stuff and going, I wish that was mine, not a donated one, or looking for an item of clothing or something and realising that the flood took it. You're like, what am I supposed to do?
There was this amazing sense of euphoria when the community all came together. That's been lost a bit, hasn't it?
It has. It's sort of out of mind, out of sight. You can barely see the flood lines now. There's only a few areas where you can see the devastation, but it's still, people have that emotional journey they still need to get through.
Still a long way to go. Peter McCutcheon reporting.